What is going on? We are live. It's your boy Miyamoto-san. And in this video, in this live stream, I have got a very special one for you. I have Mr. Crypto7 here. And let's bring him
Hi,
up.
I'm Miyamoto.
How's it going?
Great, thank you. Thanks so much for inviting me on your channel.
Yeah, good. No, good to have you on. Good to have you on. I've been watching your channel and I'm really impressed. I mean, it's actually really impressive how Pulsechain is bringing in kind of a new wave of YouTubers, which I think is really important. And your channel, correct me if I'm wrong, is quite focused on Pulsechain, right?
Yeah, that's right. I'm trying to provide a focus on Pulsechain and Hex, but also to how they fit in and how they link up with the wider crypto ecosystem, because I think that's really important for reasons I'll touch on in this video. Likewise, I caught you very recently, and I thought I was really blown away by your style and delivery, and I think you're obviously
Thanks, man.
You're obviously very articulate and also very intelligent, and I think you're quite new in the sort of Hex and Pulse journey, but you can see I can see that you're learning very fast. And also you've got 5,000 subscribers, and I think they're not all from the crypto space, so that I think that's really useful because you're like connecting pathways. And so I just thought, oh, this guy's great. I think you've got a big future in YouTube.
Thanks,
I honestly genuinely do.
I appreciate that. Yeah, I was doing a lot of content. I started back in like 2015, 2016, doing a lot of stuff in health and fitness and self-development, stuff that I'm passionate about. And, you know, the new passion this year has been crypto, and it's been, you know, Hex and Pulsechain. And here we are, we're talking now. So it's funny how, you know, life works out, isn't it? But diverging all the passions into one. And obviously, I'm a big Hex proponent. I'm a big Pulsechain proponent, and it's super, super exciting, like what's going on in the space right now. You're really deep into the Pulsechain like ecosystem, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm really deep into crypto. It's been a very exciting and very interesting time, as you say, Miyamoto. The one of the issues which I've been watching very carefully is this collision of narratives between the large popular influencers, if you like. They've been saying that we're going to get this parabolic blow off in Q4 of this year. So we're all going to be rich by Christmas, and then we can go and sail off on our yachts in January, wait a couple of years, rinse and repeat, and do it all again. Now, that's a very seductive narrative, and it's one which I was perfectly happy with because I'm fairly well invested in crypto. So I was obviously watching it very closely because what I don't want to do is get caught out. So I was watching that closely. And then there's a colliding narrative, which is being promoted by guys like Benjamin Cohen, but also by Eric Crown, who's a genius TA man. And he did a video very recently on the cycle. I think it was this morning or yesterday. I lose track of time. And he's also of the extended cycle belief, which would be that we will run on, he's saying, between May and October. And Benjamin Cohen interestingly saying October to November, and another guy who's very competent, Data Dash, is saying October, November as well. And what this means is the cycle that we're going to have to be more patient, but ultimately we're going to make more money. And why this is important, and if you're tuning in wanting to hear about Pulse, please do stay on, because I've got lots of juicy stuff about my Pulse price prediction model, and hopefully get you thinking and get those brain juices going. But it is significant where, and I come on to this when describing my Pulse prediction model in a moment, where we are in the wider crypto market is going to be significant, and I'll come on to that in a bit. But yeah, so there's been I think that BitBoy has been giving people a lot of false hope, and now so there are a lot of disappointed people now in crypto wondering what on earth is going on. But I think it's just that actually the data always pointed to the fact we were going to have an extended cycle. It looks like that narrative is well and truly winning over. We're clearly not going to get to, I think, 94K by the end of this month and 100 and something the end of next month. And although we'd all love to, obviously. So there's a lot of people are a bit disappointed. But we've all got to get over that and realize that, you know, another 12 months or so of waiting for the market to mature is no problem at all.
So it sounds like you follow all the markets, you know, very closely.
Yeah.
I think I've heard you say in other videos that your full-time job is basically going down the rabbit hole of crypto, you know, pretty much 24/7.
Every waking moment, really, I'm on crypto.
So can you give us a brief overview, a bio of how you got into crypto and how you came to where you are now with Pulsechain and everything?
Yeah, a friend of mine convinced me to start Ethereum mining, which really got me fascinated in crypto space. And I quickly realized that it was going to be much more profitable, certainly here in the UK, like we are, to sell my mining gear and to just invest into Ethereum and others. And that's what I did. And then quite shortly, I got in at 2017. Then the bear market started, but I was convinced of the cycle. And so I just DCA'd down. And yeah, so the rest is history. But I've been really enjoying doing the channel, because it's being able to connect with people who are also totally obsessed with crypto. So I'm just loving it. Yeah. And there's such a good community around Pulse and Hex. You know, everyone says it, but it's so true. And in fact, just briefly, so it's a very, very kind person that has paid for my ticket to the Hex conference on the 2nd of December, which I think you're going to. And that's just an example of the incredible generosity.
Amazing.
And he said, look, just tell them I sent you. And if you do a little video or something, then he'll be more than happy to pay for it. And I was like, are you sure, man? That's just incredibly generous. But that's what this community is like. And yeah, it blows you away.
Best community in crypto. Obviously, we're biased, and I've been recently accused of being in a cult. But if I'm in a cult where people help each other and they're positive and we're all trying to do good in the world, then, you know, so be it. And I'm really looking forward, man. A little birdie told me you were going to be down on the 2nd of December. So it's a week and a half or less now. So yeah, it'd be great to meet up and have a beer face to face.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I can't wait, buddy. I can't wait. Yeah, it goes back to the cult thing. I mean, that's you know, look at this stuff sells itself. We're not Amway salesmen, you know. If we're promoting Pulse and Hex because we want more people to be liberated from fiat slavery, and because we want more people to be financially independent, and because we want more nice people not to be seeing all their money wittering away with inflation. But if they're happy to stay in the fiat world, then fine. You know, there's going to be more than enough interest in crypto for us all to do very well. You know, we're not here to just do some sort of pyramid selling. It's we're trying to give people a leg up.
100%. I mean, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. You know, that's always rung true in my life when you're trying to help other people. So anyway, everyone's here for Pulsechain. Obviously,
yeah,
I class you as a big Pulsechain expert. And before we even talk about price action, Pulsechain needs to come out first, right? So, you know, there's lots of predictions about Richard said this, Richard said that, maybe on the 2nd. With your macro view of the community and what's going on Twitter and online, what do you think roughly, or where do you think roughly Pulsechain might come out? I know it's a stab in the dark, but let's go for it.
Yeah, I think you totally nailed that, Miyamoto. I think that we're all in a bit of a we're in a waiting room now, waiting for Pulse. I think that I think with Hex, and just touching briefly on Hex, I think the sellers are exhausted, but the buyers are just cleverly waiting, and they're waiting for confirmation that Pulsechain is going to enable the reasonable transactions of Hex, and at that point, I think they're all just going to pile back in. I mean, Hex has been the racehorse for the last 12 months. 18 months, whatever it is, and it's just having a rest, and that's perfectly normal. It's you know, and I know that I know the hexagons have seen much bigger retraces before, etc., and they're all the OGs are cool about it. But for new entrants, it's a bit like, well, what's going on here? And it literally is just a case that at some point Hex had to take a breather, and a perfect time would have been to wait to see what's going on with Pulse. And so I think that I think there's a lot of guys are lined up and girls lined up to hit buy when Pulse comes out, and it's seen to be favorable for the Hex price. So yeah, so I think that's right. We're waiting there now. Pulse. Richard made it clear a couple of days ago in his last 2-hour interview, which I listened to twice to make sure I got all the nuggets from.
And I liked your distilled video. It was really helpful, just to break down in 5 or 6 minutes. Yeah.
So cheers, buddy. So he said twice that we would have mainnet, which is Pulse launch, in the next month or two. Now, we're having had a good business experience. All clever people, business people know that you've got to expectation manage. You're not going to say a month or two if really it's 3 to 6. Sure. And I really think that it will be a month months or two, and barring some unforeseeable disaster, I think we're going to have Pulsechain in January. But end of year is still very much alive. Of course, we're still in November, a month or two. We could very well have it before the end of the year. But then some developers will want to take some holiday and see their families and crazy things like that. So it's fair enough. So it might run into January, but I think it's going to be. I think we're going to have Pulsechain very soon. And that's what I'm telling. That's what I'm telling my friends who I managed to persuade to sacrifice. And yeah.
I mean, just to think that Pulsechain could be here in 2021. I mean, it's a boiling point, isn't it? We're all on the edge of our seat.
I'd say 60%. But Richard has also made 60% will have it in December, and then the remaining, then 35% we'd have it in January, and 5% we'd have it after January. But Richard's made it clear that the speculation around launches is irritating him. So I'm not speculating. I'm simply going on what he said twice in that interview 36 hours ago. So it's all cool. That's what he said. So that's what I'm going on.
So let's say, let's say 6 weeks. Let's meet in the middle. Let's say 6 weeks, a month and a half. Early January we come out, Pulse comes out. Obviously, there's going to be day number 1. What do you think is going to happen there?
Yeah, well, that's interesting. Well, the day 1 is the bit of my price model which I think I got wrong. Would your viewers find it useful if I ran through my model now, and then I can touch on that there?
Absolutely. I think everyone's here, man, to hear you talk about Pulse price action.
Okay, so I'll preface this off by saying that a guy who I'm a big fan of says price forecasting really is dubious speculation. You never know for sure. In the case of Pulse, there is no price history. So that means that the traditional price charts, looking at the data of previous price performance, is not available to us. So conventional TA is not available to us, which simplifies things greatly. It's also useful because I'm not a TA man, but I am an FA and SA guy. So fundamental analysis and sentiment analysis are the only two things really we've got to go on. Although some people have looked at what Ethereum did in the first year, which is an interesting model. I think it's flawed because Vitalik Buterin and Gavin Wood, etc., they hadn't had a previously successful crypto to go to hang their hat on when they launched, so it was unknown, and so the investors wouldn't have been that interested. Also, I think Ethereum came out in about 2015. There was a hell of a lot less money in the crypto space then. True. And there's literally billions pouring into Bitcoin at the moment. And some people watching might think, well, if there's billions pouring into Bitcoin, Crypto 7, why isn't the price zooming up? And it's because the Bitcoin is now such a great big balloon, that it needs that billions don't even move the dial now. We need sort of $500 billion to get to sort of to get to 100K. We're going to, and so, but all that money is going into Bitcoin, and then what's going to happen is some of it's going to spill out to other things. So that's so I was saying that TA is not really available to us, but there's plenty of fundamental analysis that we can do and plenty of sentiment analysis as well. And so the three things of my model are, and this is what I was touching on before about whether we're in a bull market or not. I think it's critically important. Sorry, I'm just finding my stride now. Right. I think it's critically important whether or not we are in a bull market to the price of Pulse. Let's say, I think this would interest people. Let's go for a price prediction 3 months from launch. And we're saying, as you say, Miyamoto, let's go for a launch in 6 weeks. And then I'm saying, I'm now going to calculate or give a model or an extrapolation of where I think the price could be 3 months from launch, which is in 6 weeks. That's 4 months and 2 weeks from here. So, I think it's critically important whether or not we are in a bull market. So let's use an analogy. Let's imagine that Pulsechain is a beach bar, okay? And if it's cracking the flags every day, well, we're in a bull market. And if it's raining every day, we're in a bear market. In other words, in a bull market, there's going to be a lot more people looking around for the next opportunity. There's going to be money. They're going to be spending their money. They're going to be taking some of their profits from the other things like the Solanas, etc., and wanting to look what the new kid on the block is. Well, it's got to be Pulsechain, hasn't it? So, so they're going to be really wanting to spend, and everyone likes to spend when it's green. So for me, I think that whether or not we're in a bear market or a bull market is fundamentally important to FA analysis of where we might be with Pulsechain in 3 months' time. And I said 3 months ago when I did the analysis that I thought we would be in a bull market, and it's looking to me like we will be. So that's optimistic on that front. So that's one of the things. The second key element of my analysis of where I think Pulsechain might be 3 months from launch is very much the price appreciation, and that talks to how useful Pulse is being. And there we're going to whether or not Ethereum has sorted out its act with the gas fees between now and Pulse launch. In other words, I think we're in a race here, and that is one of the conditions of my model. I think we're in a race between Ethereum and Pulsechain, Richard Hart and Vitalik Buterin, to see who can effectively deliver on Ethereum 2.0 the fastest, whether it's going to be a form of Pulsechain or whether it's going to be Ethereum. Now, it's looking like, as I assumed would be the case when I last looked at this, it's looking like Richard Hart's going to be the winner of that race. So I think that's critically important, because I think that's going to have a big bearing on the price appreciation. In other words, if the gas fees issue is solved by Ethereum, then there are not going to be as many people gravitating over to Pulsechain, even though Pulsechain is still going to get a lot of interest because it's a new cryptocurrency. Therefore, people appreciate the potential price appreciation from a new cryptocurrency, and it's got all sorts of other advantages, being deflationary and having DeFi on it and all that sort of thing. So, and then we know people are already building applications on it. So it's got a lot of interest, but it's going to have even more interest if Ethereum is still in the doldrums. And my model says it will be, and it's looking like I got that right as well. So I estimated that the bull market would still be continuing. Eric Crown thinks we're going to be going to the moon by March, April. So I think we're safe there. My estimate of my model was that Ethereum would still be struggling, and it looks pretty certain, doesn't it? I don't think anyone's thinking that Ethereum's going to sort its act out before Pulsechain comes out. So that's
Ethereum 2.0 is going to be out in the next 6 weeks, but you never know.
Exactly. It's not happening, is it? So we're safe. So that's two of the three legs of the stool sorted. Yeah. So if everyone's still with us, the other thing on my price model, I was trying to do. It's quite simple. There's no technical analysis, so you don't need to inject complexity here. If we inject complexity, we're more likely to get a bad result anyway. So the third element was I needed to try and work out where the Pulse price would be on day one. So when things settle down on the first few hours and it finds a price on close, if you like, where's the price going to be? Now, here previously I was way too conservative, and what I said was that probably it would settle around about the average price, because I know people paid a bit different, but taking the 5 days of sacrifice, let's look at an average price there. And I was saying that you'd pretty much be around about there on day one. And that would give us a 60x on the first quarter. But having time on my hands, I've been thinking about it a lot, and I realized something which I don't think other people had occurred to them. I think we all appreciate there's going to be a lot of buying pressure on day one with Pulsechain. But I realized that there's a reason why there's going to be a lot more than anyone's factored for, why the buying demand is just going to be insane. And that's because there's two basically. When a company decides whether or not they're going to invest in something, there's a sort of like high level in principle discussion with the senior management team. So what's going to happen? So a lot of companies have sacrificed, but what I'm saying is I've realized that a lot more companies would have wanted to, but have chosen not to, and I'll explain why. So
when you say companies, sorry, like what kind of
entities? So they could be. I've worked for companies that have been investing in the money market that had 15 staff. You'd be amazed how many. I had a career in trade associations, and any company that's cash rich, and particularly now with inflation, is looking at what they can do to invest their money. But so it could be. Thanks for clarifying that. So it could be. It could be an insurance company, a big insurance company. It could be a big pension fund, or it could literally just be, that SME company that is also looking to see how they can make their money work. I was amazed. I had a career in business trade associations. Typically, they had about 12 staff, and they were all dabbling. So they'll be looking at this sort of thing. So there'll be a sort of, whatever the company entity is, there'll be a sort of high-level discussion where this will be pitched by somebody relatively young in their 20s to I'm generalizing, which is a powerful tool, by the way. So if anyone's got a problem with generalizing, well, I'm sorry, but that it works. I know from life experience it works. So as a generalization, it's going to be a young person who's got his head around the opportunity with Pulse. They're going to go to a person more my age, or a guy or a girl, and they're going to say, look, this is opportunity here. You've heard of Ethereum. They're going to go, yeah, okay, well, this is faster, cheaper, deflationary, greener. Oh, and it's got a sexy name. It's called Pulse. and that's pretty much it. They're going to go, okay. So how much did you want to invest in this? Well, let's invest $1 million, boss. Okay, all right then. We'll take it forward with accounts or whoever it is. There's always a gatekeeper in every company, whether they've got 1,500 staff or 15 staff. Sure. There's somebody who just does a bit of oversight, due diligence. Okay, all of those due diligence people. So there'll be the conversation. So there'll be a lot of senior management teams will go, yeah, this sounds fantastic. If it's as good as it sounds, if it sounds too good to be true, but if it is, but let's get this checked out. But yeah, it's greener, faster, cheaper, blah blah blah. It sounds brilliant. Okay. And and by the way, I should have added, it's the cryptocurrency from the guy who's got the best performing cryptocurrency of all time, taken in the period of 2 years. It's like, okay, well, that's what investors look for. It's what's the track record. So this is back to my point about why the comparison with Ethereum falls down. So, right. So they've gone, look, that sounds fantastic, but I've got another 20 things to think about in the next hour. Go away now. And if accounts say it's okay, so accounts are going to take it. And I've had this conversation with people, with these sorts of people and companies before. They're typically not on the board, they're not in the senior management team, but they just take a little oversight and they're looking after you as much as them. And interestingly, they've been in the company for a long time because they're sensible and they're clever and they know not to lose their job and they know who gets paid what. Anyway, so they're going, all right, Chris, let me see this. I had this loads of times in my career when I was a youngster, and they're going to look at it, and the first thing they're going to do is probably go on Company's House and just check there's no CCJs and things and all that sort of thing. This is a UK comparison, but the second thing they'll do is go on the website for Pulsechain and they'll take a look and a big disclaimer and it'll say, this is not a transaction. Don't expect anything for your money back here. You can see you smiling already. You can see it, can't you?
Yeah.
And this is, what else did they say? This is just
political statement.
For free speech or something. Yeah. And they're gonna be, what's this? You're gonna be like, no, it's okay. This is just to get around the SEC's security law. What? No. Look, can we not just buy this normally? Can we just not? What normally do, don't we? When you convince us to buy some Ethereum or Bitcoin, is we buy a little, make sure it turns up in our wallet, and then we buy a bit more, and however much you got the boss to say we could buy, the million. And can we not just do that? Because this is terrifying. It's more than my job's worth, and it's more than your job's worth. And then the youngster is going to say, yeah, we can do that actually. Well, bloody hell, we're going to do that then. But I got the boss at the senior management. Don't matter, and it doesn't matter because the auditors and all and the chair, etc. They all respect this person that's been in the job a long time and who has saved them from sticky situations like this, investing in dodgy companies and whatever. So what have we got now? We've got agreed we're going to pay this, but we can't pay it. So that all went on over the 5 days. I think there was hundreds, if not thousands, of those sorts of conversations going on all of the 5 days. The key juicy period went to sacrifice. So all that money is just waiting to press the button. In addition, of course, and let's get on to the other stuff. We know that there's going to be a lot of interest in Pulsechain above and beyond that, and which everyone realizes and appreciates because of the gas fees, because of the ability of marketing, and so that's why I think the initial day one is going to be. Oh, and this is the sentiment bit as well, which is the other thing you can look at with Pulsechain. So in assessing, sentiment analysis is really powerful in cryptocurrency. Okay, so I'll give you an example of sentiment analysis. Right, so there's a really nice guy called Crypto Heartbeat, set up a channel on crypto. Around 4 weeks ago, whatever. Yeah, it's got over 5,000 subscribers. Boom. I mean, he's very slick like you, very, very, very nice guy. You warm to him, etc. But 5K subscribers in a few weeks. Why? Because there's so much interest. There's so much interest. So that's a sentiment analysis tick. Okay, Pulsechain is going to go crazy. You can also look at things like the popularity on the Telegram group, the amount of likes. Hopefully, you guys will get. By the way, do give me a motor a like. Every like gets this video in front of another person trapped in fiat slavery. We should have asked for that before. My bad. Please do give him a like, and he's a new subscriber as well. So a new YouTuber as well. So please give him some support. I think he's fantastic. Future. He's got a brighter future than me. So anyway, so sentiment analysis is off the scale. You've got this strange waiting room, as I describe it, of money. When you never had this before. Normally, you're either going to invest in something or you're not. But in this case, loads of companies thought, or loads of entities thought, we're going to buy this, but we're going to wait till launch. So they've had the agreement, but they're now waiting. It's millions and millions. So I think the day one price is going to be way higher than what I estimated. I said about break even, nah. I think we're going to make at least a 5x. At least a 5x on day one, and I think most people would say, yeah, that sounds about right. By the way, put it in comments, guys and girls, if you think 5x on day one sounds about right. So I'm thinking we'll close at about 5x. Now, if
we've got someone here saying 250x in the first 90 days. But anyway,
in the first what?
In the first 90 days, if you see.
Well, that's fantastic for reasons I'll come on to. Right, that's brilliant because, well, there you go, genius. Because if you go 5x on my model instead of 1x and the other bits of my formula, then it comes out, instead of 60x, it comes out at 300x. So what did this guy say? 290.
So if you see on the screen, Hexillionaire said 250x first 90 days.
Wow. Yeah. So I'm saying 300x first 90 days because I completely woefully underestimated. I think the amount, the wall of buying demand, it's just going to be huge. And then I think we're going to get all the demand that we all have anticipated. And so I think that we are going to get to the 300x in 3 months. And
do you have a price point that it's going to come?
Was it not? Was it so? What was it? 0.001. So it'd be that times by 300. I don't know. And again, I'm generalizing and using a rough idea. So some people, of course, sacrificed much more recently. So they're not obviously going to they're not going to make as much. My model assumes an average. Thanks for clarifying that. My model assumes the average whatever you were getting for your dollar in the 5 days, so whatever that was. So that's what it's assuming.
I saw Gerardo. Do you know Gerardo?
Yeah, very nice lad.
Yeah, very great guy. I saw him do a video where he worked out. It was a few months ago, but he said about 0.00017. That's what it should launch at.
Okay, so times that by you times that by 300, wouldn't you?
5 cents.
Is it 5 cents?
So that would be 5. So 300. Well, would be. So maybe we're looking, guys, possibly at 5 cents at 6 month mark after launch, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's right.
That's very bullish.
Well, it's just what my models come up with, and I've given the rationale for it. It's not just sort of, I've given my reasons, and I hope people followed that, and that's why I've gone for that.
And what about in 1 year's time? Anything in a year?
I haven't given that enough thought.
Okay.
I mean, you see, there'll come a point where people will want to take profit, and the hexagons won't want to get out of bed for 100x. But there will be a point where people will start to want to take profit, and so I'd have to give that some further thought, and I also, because you see, Pulsechain won't be decorrelated in the same way as Hex is. And that's the amazing thing about Hex. That's what makes Hex so sexy to big investors. It's this idea that actually it's not just going to do well when Bitcoin does well and really badly when Bitcoin does badly, but actually Pulsechain, but actually Hex rather may continue to do well even in a bear market. I don't think Pulse will be the same. I think that Pulse will be tied to the fortunes of Bitcoin in much the same way as Solana is and Matic is, etc. So that's going to have an impact, you see. If you ask me 6 months in, I think we're probably still going to be in a bull market, and therefore that could look great. But then it could get hurt quite badly.
And do you think it's going to be? Sorry to interrupt. Do you think it's going to get to that 300x? You know, in a nice, you know, not without too many violent wicks, or do you think it's going to be quite violent? There's going to be quite a lot of volatility to get up to that 300x, or is it going to be quite stable with Pulse?
I think it's going to be a bit of a. You follow. Things like Solana have really just had a big march into the right over a 3 month period. I think it's going to be similar. I don't think. I know that normally when a crypto launches, you do get that period where people have had the opportunity to get initial purchase offers and things, and so they're able to take, and the founders and all that. Well, of course, that's one of the amazing things about Richard Hart cryptos. You don't have a load of founders that reach a point where they're millionaires quite quickly and then want to start taking money. So I'm in my model, I'm not expecting a big a very good question, and please do interrupt me whenever, by the way. That's a very intelligent question. I'm not expecting, you see, a big sell-off. What typically happens with those is that one person who's a big bag holder will sell, and that will cause another big bag holder to start panicking and sell, and then you get this precipitation down, and then maybe have to wait a few months before things start coming back up again. A lot of people just wait for that. Now, I think with Pulsechain, for all the reasons that I've given, I don't think we're going to get that in the first 12 weeks. I think it's going to be pretty relentless, really. I mean, there might be days when it goes down, but I don't think we're going to get
be quite a relentless march to 300x.
Yeah.
Motley Investors got a question for you. Have you staked any hex yet after Toby showed you his spreadsheet?
The only reason I haven't, Motley, thank you, is because I've just been busy preparing for this, and I definitely intend to. I genuinely intend to. I've just been busy elsewhere.
So a lot of people saying in the chat, demand for Pulse is so high, we have no idea. It's true. I mean, what I'm doing with 7 here, we're just speculating. Obviously, nobody knows what's going to happen out the gate. I think it's going to be quite volatile the first couple of days, the first few weeks. But then again, in another sense, we've got hexagons that sacrificed. I mean, a large portion of Pulse holders are going to be hexagons who have got diamond hands. Like you said, they're not going to get out of bed for less than 100x. You've got protocols like liquid loans, I'm sure you're aware of, where people don't have to sell their Pulse. They can use it as collateral and take a loan against it. What do you think?
Yeah, that's very clever. Yeah, I thought that was really clever. That guy, I watched that interview. That guy comes across really well. I can't remember his name, but
CC. He's
that's right. Thank you. CC. He comes across really well, and you can tell he's genuine. I'm quite good at judging characters, and he's genuine.
You can tell.
You can just tell, can't you? You see the whites of the eyes, you know. He's just, he's just like, he's a nice guy. Not worried about. I love it when they're not worried about the competition at all. That's a really good sign. He's like,
he's a nice guy. And I saw him on Adam Stokes. I've seen him on Crypto Heartbeat today. I've seen him. Yeah, I've seen him. Adam Stokes was Adam Stokes. He's an Aussie crypto influencer.
Yeah. I've done a couple of collabs with Adam. He's a good guy.
Yeah. Hex Turbo is saying, shout out to Hex Turbo, one of my good friends, and the guy that got me into Hex and Pulse. He's saying my bullish prediction is 10,000x within 18 months of
well, it could be, couldn't it? That would be then similar to Hex performance. It could be, but everyone likes a sort of more of a short-term price prediction, and so I put a lot of time in thinking in my 3 months model, and then, as I say, you do start injecting some uncertainties because 18 months, I think we are going to be in a bear market then. So what does that, is that when, because the higher we go, eventually we're going to have a retrace in Pulse, and would that coincide with the bear market? It could be quite it could be a big retrace, just like Ethereum went from $1,400 all the way down $80 in the last bear market, and look at it now. People are throwing money at it at 4.5K.
Yeah, no, exactly. I mean, it's had a crazy run up. I like this subscribers comment. Big YouTube influencers have sacrificed, but they're keeping quiet, scared to be associated with Richard Hart. Yeah, Yeah, I think a lot of them are, because a lot of them, I think, are not legit people. They're quite scammy, and I think Richard Hart's the opposite of that, of a scam. And they try to make out that he's a scam to kind of deflect stuff off them, but they're the ones that are all borrowing Bitcoin off each other and not paying back and doing dodgy leverage trading and all that stuff. So,
I agree. I agree. He's a maverick character, isn't he? And he's sort of like out on his own, and that's just how he operates, really. So you know, they're in a bit of a clique, you know, where the influencers and you know, I'm generalizing again, but they get invited on the initial purchase offers, don't they? And the initial allocations, and they get a little bit of information, you know.
Have you seen this spreadsheet at all that's been going around?
Yeah, I have. I saw that. Yeah, that looks good, doesn't it?
Yeah, let's get it up, because that is actually quite interesting. I think I saw it on RG3's page, and I just think that is it's just crazy, isn't it? How they, you know, this thing here, where you know they're getting paid, you know, 70,000, 45,000, 40,000. for a video, and they're probably getting an allocation of the coins as well, right? Like 1%, and then they're going to dump on their heads and stuff. So I just think it's a complete farce, everyone calling Richard a scammer, when a lot of these influencers are the same. Not the same. They are scammers, and Richard's not a scammer, you know. But
I mean, and some of them I don't like the word scammer, but a bit naughty. That's how I mean, I described that to a friend of mine today. A bit naughty. One of the channels that I always watch, and because if I'm going to spend all my life researching crypto, I at least want to listen to warm people like yourself. But one of them is Banter with Ran and Sheldon, and Ran. And I was worried about Solana, that the Lisbon conference might be a point where a lot of the early VCs would take money and things, and then yesterday Rand said he couldn't resist bragging about the fact he shorted Solana, but because he knew he'd had people saying he shorted Solana and hadn't told us, he said, "Oh, and I like Rand, and I'm not speaking out of turn." He said, "Oh, I checked my portfolio and I didn't realize I'd accidentally shorted Solana." Now, you can't guy like that can't accidentally. You're not going to accidentally short something.
I pressed the button by mistake in the exchange.
Oh, by accident, I made 60,000, and he was so chuffed about it that he had to gloat about it, and then patronizes by suggesting that we buy that he did it accidentally. And I thought, and that's as an example. So he's good, by the way. So he'll tell you what he's just bought and what he thinks he's going to do well. This is in his interest, isn't it? So great. So they're great for the sort of buy signals. But obviously, he would have been all expenses paid in Lisbon at the Solana conference, and because there was that thing that went around. Did you see it where some of these VC guys in Solana had been basically saying on air in this live stream that they were going to dump the price? And the obvious time, they were going to take profit. They were going to take profit rather than not dump the price. And the obvious time they were going to do that was selling into the Solana conference. So I did actually reduce my Solana exposure, and I was glad I did. And it has suffered, hasn't it? It suffered more than the others. But yeah, I accidentally shorted Solana. It's just sort of an example of where, well, come on, he knows all the devs, and he knows everyone really well connected, like all these others. And someone said to him, it's obvious. Someone said to him, like, you know, it might be, didn't hear it from me, but it might be a good idea to offload some of your vast Solana bags. Yeah. And so that's what he did. And he says, "Oh, but I did it by accident." Of course he didn't. So just an example which got my back up a little bit. That was yesterday's video.
Yeah, man. I don't like any of those guys. I know what you mean. It's a gray area. I'm not saying they're full on scammers. You know, they're stealing people's money, but in a way they are. You know, they're using their channel to pretend they're a friend. They're a lot of the time they're saying, "Hey, trust me." BitBoy's narrative, his whole narrative is like, the banks are trying to F you over. I'm here for you. I'm here for the common man. I've got the next, 100x altcoin. And yet he's being paid like 50 to 70 grand for a video, getting a percentage of that altcoin, which he will dump on the heads of the people that have bought that coin. Because of course he gets 1% allocation, and when that coin pumps after his video, he's going to dump it on them. So, it's not.
Yeah.
I think that's unethical, but
that's right. That's absolutely right. Well, it's one of the unusual things with this cycle is that the guys that were influencers and were doing YouTube channels in 2016 and 2017 are invariably insanely wealthy. And you only have to look at, going back to Ran, you only have to look at his incredible generosity. He's literally giving millions away to viewers and audience, and that's great. And because they are insanely wealthy, and I don't want to pick on him, but you can see the wealth they've got. It's insane, and they're buying these NFTs of monkeys with baseball caps smoking cigarettes for 200K, and they've got so much money. And why that's important is because whilst a lot of us may have got in more recently, or obviously have got a lot less money and are hoping to maximize our gains from this cycle, they're looking at as, well, I've got more money than my kids can spend here, so I've got to make sure I don't get caught out. And so Christmas is fine for me, and then I'll sell most of my portfolio, and I'll go sailing, as I said, and we'll come back in 2 years. But actually, I think what we're going to see is a longer cycle, and we're going to have periods of with retraces. And also, which get a lot of people. This is the psychology of crypto markets, but I could see us just ranging around here for 2 or 3 months and not doing anything, and that really frustrates people. Some people press sell, just because the price isn't doing, and they get this idea that because it's not moving at all, well, it's obviously not going to do much. I'm just going to sell, and but actually, it's the opposite. It's like it's like a pressure cooker. It's building up. It's going to go, and so ADA is a good example, by the way. I mean, it was 315 not too long ago, and it's down to 173 today. So I'm buying because that's going to go back to 315 in no time, assuming that people like Eric Crown, who knows his stuff, and Benjamin Cohen are right, and that this isn't a bear market, and that we are going on and upwards, which I think the overwhelming data and evidence suggests that we are still in a bull market.
I mean, I don't believe those guys, though, because they told me at the beginning of this year, we're going to go to 100K, 200K, 300K, maybe a super cycle. Altcoins are going to get a 10x, 20x. So, I mean, a lot of the time the market does the opposite of what you think is going to happen. Yeah. I mean, it's crypto. Anything could happen, obviously. But yeah, we'll see. We'll find out in the next few months, I guess.
Yeah, they weren't saying that we would go that high by Christmas. They were saying it was going to take longer, and that's the thing.
Ben Cohen, he's quite chilled out. He's more relaxed. He's less.
He's very good. He's very good, isn't he? And they're saying, well, look, we could go back to 40, 50K and still get to 200K by the end of next year. And that's what they're saying, which is very different. This is collision of narratives with guys like BitBoy that are saying that we're going to get to. I mean, initially he was saying, wasn't he, that we'd get to 300K by September, and when of course that didn't happen, he then adapted that to 100K by December. But in reality, they just got the timing, the time all wrong. So,
well, I mean, I do like the way that Hex is decorrelated to the rest of the market and doesn't move in tandem with Bitcoin. And getting back to Pulsechain, I mean, obviously there's quite a few protocols on there, like liquid loans, which we've kind of touched on. Anything else that you're quite bullish on? Pulse Swap, anything like that?
Yeah, Trust Swap looks really good. That's on that. I think that's going to be appearing straight away on Pulsechain as well.
Yeah.
In fact, I watched an interview with one of the founders and immediately bought some Trust Swap. I'm very bullish. And as you say, we probably, let's go with your prediction of 6 weeks meeting in the middle till Pulsechain launch, which means if you haven't got a MetaMask wallet already set up, it takes 2 minutes. I'd load some Ethereum on it and I'd be ready to go, trying to get some Pulse on day one if you can. And that's, I may well do that myself.
I think a good strategy for day one would be buying Hex now, to be honest. Obviously it's a discount. Hex is currently sitting at around 18 cents, 18.5 cents today.
I agree.
So
I agree. It's not going much lower. I think we probably bottomed with Hex, but as I say, I think we're just waiting now to see what happens. But I think anything under 19 cents for Hex seems very cheap to me.
And remember, you're getting your double on the Pulsechain. So let's say you buy, I don't know, $1,000 today worth of hex on Ethereum. You're going to get obviously however much you get on Pulsechain, and then straight away, even if there's no bridge from Ethereum, you can buy Pulse straight away, because that will be a liquidity pair, obviously Hex, PHEX, and Pulse. So that would be my advice to anyone. Obviously, nothing on this channel is financial advice. It's all for entertainment and education purposes only. But if you wanted to get into Pulse, I would not sacrifice, because the rate's so terrible. I would buy some Hex today, wait for your duplicate, and then use that to pick up Pulse on day one or in the first week. Would you agree with that?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I'm in 38 cryptos, but the two that I think are probably looking like they're the best is Pulse and Hex. So hopefully, I think a lot of viewers will find that comforting, that that I've obviously abreast of other crypto opportunities, but I think they're the two best opportunities. Don't use the money that you put aside for your kids' weddings, or but I think as you say, not financial advice, but I think they offer the best opportunity. Interestingly, and more importantly, because who am I? But there is a guy. Have you come across him, called Michael Supo? He got a bit of slack, a bit of flack.
I don't like that guy. He's an English guy, right?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, well, that's what I mean. There's a lot of people that don't like him, a bit like Richard Hart in that way. But let's I'll just say this then briefly about him. That he turned, I think it was 10,000 into 3.5 million in the last cycle, and he's insanely wealthy this time around. And one thing about Michael is he's incredibly good at spotting the opportunities. He's just got that Midas touch. And of all the things that he shills or recommends, etc., he has said that if he was starting again with $1,000 or whatever, he would start with Pulse. And I was just like, wow, that's fantastic.
I think I heard him say that. I think I heard it, or someone put a clip on Twitter of that. And I mean, I agree with him. I don't really like him. I think I kind of class him as one of the other Furus and stuff. But sure. I mean, why would you, even these guys I don't like, they've all sacrificed for Pulse. They're not stupid. Why would you bet against Richard Hart? Look at what Hex has done. Look at the Hex chart.
Totally.
I mean, I was early this year, I had like 25 over 30 holdings, different altcoins. As soon as the penny dropped on Hex, I just piled all of it into Hex. Even at a loss, I sacrificed, which I'm happy about. I got in from day one through day 1 to 5, and I even FOMO'd in on day 10 as well. But I'm pretty happy with the amount I put in, and I've got a few coins left, only because selling them wouldn't be worth it. They've dropped over 90% in that bear market. So in the kind of mini bear market we had from May. But I'm kind of a Pulse and Hex maxi, not in a toxic way. Obviously, if something comes out which is good, So
you sacrificed for Pulse, did you? Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah.
Sure. Sorry.
I got it.
Well, at least you're diversified in that sense, because although they're both from the same genius architect, I think that they're different animals, aren't they, Pulse and Hex? So at least you've got some diversity in that sense.
Would you mind revealing your sacrifice? I mean, obviously not how much, but kind of your strategy, or did you sacrifice for Pulse?
I did.
Okay.
Foolishly, I didn't sacrifice as much as I should have done. I bought a lot more Hex because I became convinced that it's a financial instrument that's going to continue to grow, and that you just got to take a long view on it. And I became totally convinced. So I ended up buying quite a lot of Hex, higher than it is at the moment, actually. But and I think I only sacrificed about 2K. Whereas I think I bought a lot more Hex than that. But yeah, so but it's all good, because if these numbers are right, it's going to help a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly believe it's going to probably follow the kind of 10,000x, like Hex Turbo said. But I mean, how can it not? How much bullish news is there? We have it's a system state copy of Ethereum. Obviously, it's cheaper, faster blocks, 3-second blocks. Most of the big holders are hexagons, and we know hexagons have delay gratification and they have diamond hands. Yeah, there will be some.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a very good point. And greener. Yeah, but you make a good point. That's right. It's the people they're not going to be selling for 100x return.
We have liquid loans on there, so you don't have to sell your crypto if you don't want to. We have other ways of making money on there, like obviously with liquid loans, you can deposit USDL into the stability pool and earn a loan token and Pulse, and just kind of recycling that way. I'm not sure if you're aware about the Pancake Swap fork, which will be the Pulse swap, where you can also provide liquidity and earn, I guess it will be the Pulse swap token. So there's so many different ways. Even though I'm pretty much a Hex and Pulse maximalist, I'm definitely still going to get involved in liquid loans and probably provide some liquidity on Pulse swap as well. I think there's so many ways to make money and just
it's very exciting. And what do you think? Do you think that we might find Pulse gets listed on an exchange, or because that would be something I hadn't assumed, but it would be. I can see, like you said, a lot of people will be kicking themselves they didn't get into X, and they might be coming out in support of Pulse.
In my opinion, I think Pulse would be listed on a main exchange before Hex.
That's what I think might happen. Yeah.
Just because people understand it, even though Hex isn't that complicated to understand, people have that Richard Hart derangement syndrome and they have a block on it and they see it as this Ponzi or pyramid, which is not. Obviously, it's genius with great game theory. But with Pulse, I guess it's much easier to explain it. System state copy of Ethereum, cheaper, faster blocks. Great, I'm in. Where do I get some?
Well, you put it very neatly.
So thank you. So I think. Personally, I think that's got a better chance of getting on an exchange faster than Hex. But again, time will tell, right? We'll find out maybe in the first couple of months.
Yeah, that's right. So yeah, I'm massively excited and can't wait.
And also, there's another way to make Pulse, as Pro Hexer says. Also, you can delegate your Pulse to a delegator and earn fees.
Good point, Pro Hexer.
So just recapping on what we've gone over, you've got a 300x from.
So I've shifted from just that difference of the initial price day has changed it from 60x in the first 3 months to 300x.
Amazing. And anything else that you want to talk about on today?
No, it's been fantastic, and I look forward to having a beer with you on the 2nd in London.
I'll see you very soon. I think we're Tuesday. It's going to be next Thursday, so literally like 8-9 days. That'll be great.
Fantastic, mate. I look forward to it.
Yeah, me too. Where can everyone find more of your content and you online?
Crypto7. I try to provide individual content, and please do give me a look. Crypto7 on YouTube, and that's my main presence. I'm on Twitter. I'm not on Telegram. I just think I've just too many things to do.
Too much, not enough time. Too many social media platforms, right? I feel you.
Yeah, that's right.
I feel you. Right. It's been really fun today, man. It's been great to pick your brains on Pulse and get your macro and micro thoughts on what's going to happen. Definitely looking forward to seeing you next week. And guys, thanks a lot for watching the video. Everyone in the chat, thanks a lot. If you could hit that like, if you haven't, share the video, subscribe, all that good stuff. Help get the word out on Pulsechain and on Hex.
And if you're watching from my side, this Miyamoto, I think he's got a very bright future. I think he's definitely a useful addition to the Pulse and Hex community. And please do show him your love with a sub. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Cheers, guys. Catch you on the next video. Peace.
Peace.